Hello, my name is Darren Nash, and I am a student in Dr. Katie Herbold's EDUC 6560 class at Southern Utah University. And my topic brief is about minorities in special education. Special education is a necessary program to make sure a student who has one of the 13 disabilities listed in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act receives special education services, because it is determined that the extra support is needed for the student to make academic progress. Research has shown that there is a disproportionate amount of minorities in special education. This has been a consistent concern for the last 40 years. One ramification of this is ethnic minorities are less likely to attend college and be employed than their white counterparts. So when a decision is made to refer a minority student for special education services, the decision must not be made lightly. Because once a minority student is a part of the special education program, there is a small chance that they will ever, quote unquote, graduate from the special education program. Students are treated differently by their peers and adults when they are in special education. Next, I will talk about teacher expectations regarding minority students. Teachers have a lower academic expectation of minority students and are less likely to use encouraging language and more likely to criticize African American and Hispanic students. If a minority student shows behavioral or academic concerns, there is a higher chance than their white counterparts that they will be referred for special education services. This is a complex issue because special education is a product of the civil rights movement. But ironically, today, the racial disparities in rates of special education services is a key indicator of the inequity in our special education system. Through my experience as a student, a parent, and now an educator, there is a disconnect between parents of minority students and educators. This disconnect has caused a lack of trust in the educational system by parents of minority students. I believe some of this lack of trust is because communication between parents of minority students and teachers is avoided. Having a difficult conversation with anyone is stressful, but it is especially uncomfortable, in my view, when a teacher has to have a difficult conversation with a parent whose background is different from their own. So what happens is teachers avoid having conversations with minority parents altogether. Parents of minority students also avoid these difficult conversations, and this just breeds mistrust. So what can be done? Change must begin with the classroom teacher in order to begin reversing the course of minority overrepresentation in special education. Teachers must take an emotional risk to examine their deeply held beliefs that can affect how they treat students. Self-reflection and honest evaluation of their biases, and reviewing their teaching practices and discussing these teaching practices with their colleagues are all important steps in making sure all students are being taught in an equitable manner. There are 7 research-based recommendations that are also suggested that will improve minority overrepresentation. Teacher preparation, improved behavior management, prevention and early intervention, pre-referral interventions, frequent assessments, family and community involvement, and policy and systems reform. These 7 recommendations are sound educational approach, no matter what the student background is. This topic is not only relevant to kindergarten through 12th grade students, but for toddlers who have yet to begin school. If we can get more students in preschool programs, it will provide more opportunities for minority students or any student to be successful in the classroom, and educators have more time to find out what a child needs. In conclusion, educators must first be aware that minority students are overrepresented in special education. But we can turn this trend around by embracing the importance of early intervention and prevention. Teachers are out of their comfort zone when they have to address an academic or behavioral issue with a minority student. Teachers have lower expectations of students who come from a different background than their own. And with this type of bias, the chances of minority students being referred for special education services is at a higher rate than their white counterpart. Teachers must be honest with themselves and self-evaluate their biases and make a habit of reviewing their teaching practices and talking to their colleagues about their self-reflection.